to do secure code reviews. We have some signature services in various types of uh, things like GRC services, technical services, financial compliance services, specifically for the SEBI and RBI guidelines. Then we also have a virtual CISO services, cloud security, and consulting services for cyber security. SOC as a service is one of the things which we provide with the help of a couple of SIM solution, and we provide SOC as a service with the help of like uh, information about threat hunting, your like any kind of incident which can be there in your company. We provide incident response with our team. We provide 24 into 7 support in SOC as a service model. Then we have a MSSP service portfolio where we provide MSP services for most of the uh, exclusive solutions like EDR as a service, firewall as a service, and SOC as a service models. Then mail rescue is one of the solution as a consultant we provide where we take care of your emails, and we are partner with Google and Microsoft and give you the email audit report. Then we have a service in brand rescue. We will do the brand monitoring of your brand as far as your images are concerned, IPs are concerned, and the content are concerned over the internet. So this is one of the deliverables. These are few certifications, few companies which are associated, and the clients which we have. And we are working from major locations from India. So I'm just stopping the share, and I want to introduce now Mr. Milind Naik, who is from BD Soft and one of the distributor of GTB product. GTB is a DLP solution, and in DLP solution, you will find out how to like do the endpoint security, the data, the applications, any kind of upload, downloads. And we have created a very beautiful presentation without any gimmick or without any much more uh, images. We will be going through the feature-wise portfolio of GTB as a product and how it helps for your Windows devices, for your Linux devices, and for your Macs. So we will be taking care of the question answers and any kind of queries after the presentation. And you will be unmuted from our team member, and you can ask your question or you can write down your question in the chat box. Whenever you have any question, just raise your hand and you can ask your questions during the question answer round after the presentation from Milind. Milind, are you there? Over to you.
Yeah, I'm here. Thanks, Sumit. So good
I'm
morning,
just
all of you. I hope we can start, or shall we wait for one more minute?
so you can introduce yourself. Meanwhile, like accordingly, I have shared the presentation. So you let me know when to change the slide.
Sure. Fine. Will do. So, good morning, all of you, and let me introduce myself. I'm Milind Naik from BD Soft, and we are the distributor of GTB DLP, and we are one of the only distributor for Bitdefender also, and we work with threat rescue to enhance your cyber security solutions and SOC solutions so that your data will remain safe, and there should not be any hacking or any data leakage or any misuse of data. Now, first of all, let me understand that how many of you have already used DLP, or any idea what exactly the DLP is? Any of you?
Milind, I think they are not able to answer. We will take up this in during the poll questions and
Okay, okay,
question
fine.
answer
Will
round.
do.
Yeah,
Will
please
do.
go.
Okay, understood. So, fine, no problem. Let me explain first what exactly the DLP is. You can change the slide. So, the data leakage prevention. First of all, many people they misunderstand that data leakage prevention means exactly what. That maybe it is somebody is hacking or stealing your data, or manipulating your data, or maybe corrupting your data, or whichever the channel or whichever the means available for attack. The hacker can attack on that part and try to corrupt or steal the data, right? But DLP is not meant for the entire data. It is not like a endpoint protection or EDR or XDR, or like your antivirus. But it is going to focus on that data which is sensitive to you. That means the data which your organization feels that is important and sensitive to the company, which is called as a classified data. Yes, only that data you are supposed to treat it and track it and remediate it. So there comes the data leakage prevention software. So that is the major difference between a endpoint protection software and a data leakage prevention software, right? So there comes the DLP, where it will basically focus only the classified data, where whenever a event happens, where any alteration, any deletion, any file movement or folder movement or data movement of that sensitive data or data stream is going to happen, maybe through your endpoint, or maybe through your network, or whichever the resources you have owned it, or maybe you have not owned it. In the either of the scenario, such movement of data, if it is not permissible as per your policies which you have defined in the DLP, then yes, in that case, in that event, the DLP will remediate and take the action, whichever the remediation action you have asked for, right? So there, that is the major function of data leakage prevention. Now, let us talk about GTB. There are many other DLP solutions also available in the market, but GTB is one of the pioneer in data leakage prevention. GTB, founded in 2004. It is a USA based company, and their head office is in Florida, USA. And mainly there are 3 points which we can say as a USP, that is the uniqueness in GTB DLP. So first point is that they have almost 50% of their staff in research and development, and they do have around 540 plus patents available for a algorithm technology which they have uniquely built, which have their own patent on their name, what is called as fingerprinting. So using this fingerprinting technology, your GTB DLP has a ability to almost, you can say, that it can classify any kind of data whichever you want as per your choice. So that means, in short, you can say you can customize your classification of data as per your norms, and you can design, you can draft your own norms. You know, so maybe some standard norms are available like PCI DSS for fintech company, or maybe HIPAA for your pharma company, or medicines and hospitals and all, or otherwise you can say PII, personal identifiable information, or DPDP or GDPR, or such various norms. RBI also do have come up with their own norms, right? So there are various norms countrywide. Also, the norms will change little, but one or more, you can say, ultimately the goal is whichever the data which is classified as a sensitive data, yes, that need to be prevented from leakage, right? And there comes the DLP function, where DLP's job is to prevent such leakage of data. So coming back to GTB the slide shows that some of the key features. Sumitji, can you full screen this so that they can able to you can press F5 key so that it will be full screen. Yeah, thank you. So uh, the features what DLP offers. Again, I am coming back to endpoint protection. Similar to endpoint protection, it can offer you the real time protection where you know by any channel, if the data is manipulated, encrypted, or getting stolen or getting shifted unauthorizedly, right? In such event, if that data is sensitive, GTB DLP will remediate. So such kind of event, if it is happening because of malware or ransomware or any malicious threat or any kind of virus or suspicious program which is inside your network or on your endpoint or you know your any of your resource which is causing that, uh, the GTB DLP has ability to detect that and prevent uh, getting such kind of data leakage if at all that data is sensitive. That means if it is classified and defined as sensitive, in that event GTB DLP will protect that data. It can create a shadow copy of that data and keep a fresh copy of that in a shadow copy region which is defined by setting up the shadow copy path. That can be some another cloud path which you have own it, or maybe your local storage path which you already have it on premise but it is isolated from your regular network, or it can be any of your storage server where uh, the archival or storage of such important data can be done. So it can be a data vault, backup vault, or whichever the path you want, which you feel that there the sensitive data shadow copy should go there, it can go. And then whatever the malware or ransomware attack happens and it encrypts the original data, or whatever the remediation or whatever your attack which happens breaking that remediation, then also you have the original copy of that your data which is available in the shadow path, and from there you can retrieve that data. So this is how one of the mitigation which is available in GTB DLP can take place. Another thing is any deletion or any alteration of or any file movement or folder movement of such sensitive classified data is going to happen, you have another remediation that you can log that simply, so that there itself the operation which is doing that will get terminated, right? So that is the ability of GTB DLP. Apart from this, you can only log that event, that you may allow that okay whatever is happening, let that get allowed, but let us log whatever is happening and have a shadow copy of the original data and keep it aside, isolated and separate from the original data, so that whenever you come across that kind of alert and logs, you can cross verify that which sensitive data got altered or got leaked, and where is the original copy which got leaked or which got altered or destroyed, whatever. So that is what is the real time protection. You can have it for malware, ransomware, or malicious threat, or maybe it is a manual intervention, whichever the channel, if it is going to happen with GTB DLP will remediate that. Then apart from that, there are many other algorithms also available in GTB DLP where you can utilize them as far as from protocol based point of view. Almost the entire TCP/IP protocol stack you can utilize for filtering or applying or creating the policy for the specific kind of data traffic which you want to prevent or track. Uh, Apart from this, you can also create policy based on the domains. Only valid domains can, you know, be whitelisted, and rest of the things you can blacklist or you can block it. So that way also you can create the policies in GTBDLP. Apart from this, you can have another channels like application based channel, like whatever the sensitive data, if it is going to happen with some specific application like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, or PDF reader, or Adobe Reader, or whichever application you have got installed. It can be any Zoom or Teams, or any chat application like WhatsApp. So through that kind of application also, and through chat also, if any sensitive information in a form of a text, or in a form of a graphics file, or in a form of a uh, you know voice chat, or any kind of important means by which the sensitive data which is going to travel, which you have already classified it as a sensitive, in that event it will detect it and it will block it or remediate it. Whatever the remediation you have asked for, that kind of remediation will take place. So that is how the GTB-DLP will work. GTB-DLP supports all the operating system flavors. It will support Windows platform also, Windows 10 and 11 also it is supporting, Windows Server 12, 2012, 2016, 2019, and 2022 it is supporting as of now. And apart from this, uh, Windows 7 and 8 and 8.1 also it is supporting. But actually speaking, these old operating systems now they are out of end of life, you can say, by defined by Microsoft. So the vulnerability of such older operating system is much more. So as per the regular standards and Microsoft recommendation, we don't recommend it. But GTB-DLP can get installed and work with these operating system as well. Both 32-bit as well as 64-bit it will support. And that is how the GTB sorry, GTB-DLP it can help you. Now apart from this, the classification which you are going to define is the first phase of your any DLP software which you want to utilize for classifying and tracking your data. So GTB DLP offers some predefined classifications which are available in a form of a library. So that is what is called as automatic classification, where already the predefined classification norms as per the specific norms like PCI, PCI DSS, or PII, or DPDP, or your GDPA, GDPR, right? So based on those norms which are predefined and used all over the world, uh, ready-madely GTB DLP has classified some kind of data, like your as far as from India perspective point of view, Indian PAN and Aadhaar, and your credit card number or debit card number, etc. That can be defined already, predefined. And if you opt for that classification, that norm, then accordingly, whatever the policy you want to create and define, you can tag that norm, you can tag that policy to that particular norm, so that that particular classification norm will get picked up for that particular policy. So whenever such policy is associated to any of the endpoint or user in that event, whenever that endpoint or user, if it tries to violate that policy by sharing some sensitive data which is already predefined in the classification as per that norms which is tagged to that policy, the GTB DLP will remediate that, and immediately the remediation action will take place. So if it is blocking, it will block that. If it is logging, it will log the event and intimate the admin person. If it is the justification, then the end user is asked for justify why he is sharing that important sensitive data. And once that justification is given, then only the further action will take place, and the admin person will see the justification, and then based on that he can connect with that end user for the further clarification if at all it is required. If the justification is clear and that can be satisfying, then there is no further action need to be done, right? So that is how uh, the GTB DLP functions, and that is how the classification in an automatic classification form will work for GTB DLP. Now, apart from this inbuilt GTB DLP library of classification, you can also integrate Microsoft MIP library, which is available as a paid service from Microsoft, or otherwise, if you want some another third party like Titus Labs, from there also you can subscribe and integrate that library for classification of data with GTBDLP, so that you can utilize their classification norms which are already predefined in them, and you may use it as it is, which is applicable as far as from your data classification perspective point of view. Then this is how the entire automatic classification can take place. Now, apart from this, uh, the GTB DLP, it has some more better features, like it can support agent based operation. That means at the end point you have to install the agent and protect the DLP activity. That is as a regular practice. Yes, that is available. Uh, since the GTB DLP is open source architecture, it is based on Linux platform and MongoDB and Postgres NoSQL that is used. So because of that, because of MySQL and Postgres and MongoDB NoSQL, uh, the database is server is also lightweight. So because of that, there is no much overhead on your server or cloud platform. It can be hosted on premise also, and it can be hosted on your any of your public cloud choice or your private cloud choice, whichever you opt for,
Milind,
subject to.
Milind,
Yeah.
Milind, moving ahead, I want to go on a poll first.
Haha.
We have a poll like Abhishek, if you can go for a first poll. Our first poll is how concerned are you about your data loss in the organization? So I will request everyone if they can participate on this particular poll so that we can understand you are engaged with us and you are using the best of the class solution in your company. So I will request everyone take 5 seconds and give your views on the poll raised by Abhishek from my team. Yeah, please, Milind, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. So coming back to uh, GTB endpoint protect option, which is a agentful operation. It can secure your traffic over the application and devices by means of whatever the policy you define and tag it to that particular application or device or the user ID. You can have a context based or content aware based policies which can detect the data which is context based or content aware based for that particular device or that particular user, right? And that is how the remediation can detect the particular data which is classified by you as a sensitive data, and accordingly then the remediation will take place. uh, it can also have ability to encrypt the data which is going to exit from your USB port or your Bluetooth port as a device control. So yes, those devices which are whitelisted on that, you can have the encryption of your data enabled, so that whatever the data you copy, it will get opened only where the GTB DLP agent is installed and not on those devices where the agent is not installed, right? So that is what That is how the encryption will work. And of course, shadow copy, already I have told you that whatever the data you are going to remediate, if you enable the shadow copy, another fresh copy of the original data will take place, and from there you can retrieve your original data, so that in case if the data got corrupt, or in case if the data got stolen or deleted or modified, the original data is available in shadow region. Then there is one more thing which is uh, important aspect of GTB DLP, that is discovery. Now, generally the DLP functionality happens for the data in moment. That means whenever the data moves out from one endpoint to another endpoint, or another network, or another resource or entity, during that time only the tracking or remediation take place. But in case if you want to scan the data or discover the data which is at rest, in that case the discovery server is one of the feature available in GTB DLP, where you can have ability to scan the data which is not in motion but which is at the rest, which is lying on your storage devices, or on your hard drive, or on your server storage, or cloud storage, wherever you have your centralized storage. And in that case, even that data is not moving out from that storage, then also you can have entire auditing of your file and folders done using discovery server of GTB DLP, right? So sometimes some of the fintech companies, they are asked to have such kind of audit done. So in that event, then you have to have that option also opted in GTP DLP. Of course, data at rest scanning is optional, and you have to have a separate license need to be purchased for that, as far as from GTB DLP perspective point of view. So those who want to have that, they can purchase that license. Otherwise, you can bypass that, right? So of course, the agent works in offline as well as online mode. So all the policies which are last sync with your console, centralized console, as per that policy, the agent will continue to work even the network get disrupted, or even the console is disconnected from the endpoint. So whenever it next comes into connect with the endpoint, uh, the console major action and activity which is done is the syncing. So whatever the new policy got altered or modified or created in the console, those will get synced with the endpoint if it is applicable. And apart from that, if any you know any of your events or logs got generated on the endpoint, will get sync with the console, so that the console will be also aware that so and so events happened at so and so endpoint, right? So that is how the agent based activity of your endpoint will sync whatever the policies, conditions, and events with the centralized console. Now, apart from that, any kind of data prevention due to you know malware, or any kind of attacks which happen, uh, JTBDLP has ability to detect it, and it can also update, or submit the data to the forensic, so that it can analyze that and come back with the solution. That is also available. But of course, this happens with the sensitive or classified data only, so don't get misunderstand or confused between DLP software and endpoint protect software. They are both different, and their role is different, of course. Where the DLP works only for the classified data, whereas the endpoint protect works for your entire all of your data, right? So applications can be also blacklisted or whitelisted, so that particular application can only open at your endpoint, and rest of the applications will not get open at your endpoint. So that blacklisting or whitelisting also you can control and do it. So
Right.
next slide.
So Milind, before moving on the next slide, we want to go for a poll too.
Haha.
So our second poll is, what is your organization biggest data protection challenge? So we got 7 views in last poll. So I will request everyone, like we have more than 7 people in our webinar as of now. So if they can participate in our second poll, which will give us the insight about the biggest data protection challenge. So I will request everyone who can they can participate in this particular poll, please. We'll wait for 5 more seconds. Yeah, Milind, please go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. So now further talking about the integration of GTB DLP. Yes, uh, GTB DLP can get integrated with your Active Directory as well as LDAP. So if your organization is having Active Directory, maybe on premise or on Azure cloud, yes, GTB DLP can get integrated with both on premise Active Directory as well as Azure Active Directory also. And the advantage of integration with Active Directory is that whatever the Active Directory policies, the group policies, the centralized control, you know, all these things can get populated on GTB DLP cloud console also, or GTB DLP centralized console also. So the thing is, then from GTB console itself also you can see your organization units, your domain users, domain subdomains, or your groups, domain groups, or the group policies, etc. And then accordingly you can choose to apply particular policies to the particular domain groups or centralized groups or particular OUs. You can have isolation, and you can have delegation of admin activity also as per the OU. Maybe your company may have multiple branches, so based on that, state-wise branches or something, city-wise branches. So accordingly, you might have created your organizational unit architecture. So same can get populated and got sync with the GTB DLP entities also. So accordingly, you can control those resources and apply the specific policy and delegation of the administration to the respective branch or OU. So that is the advantage of integrating LDAP and Active Directory or Azure Active Directory with the GDB DLP. File encryption, as I told you, for your USB or your pen drive or your external storage devices which you connect to the via USB or via Bluetooth, you can encrypt that data, and according to that, uh, it will get open only on those devices where the agent is installed or GTB DLP presence is there. Otherwise, it will not open. Right. So that is how you can protect your data going outside any unauthorized endpoint or unauthorized user. Right. So apart from that, the detailed file auditing or file movement or file activity like file deletion, creation, file modification, whatever, it can be possible using GTB DLP. You can have very detailed report on that, and that will always help you to check or cross verify that if your sensitive data is going to get tampered or not. Similar to that, you can have some hardware auditing also possible to some extent using GTB DLP, but of course it is not full fledged. So if you have ITSM in place, that will be much better. Then of course you can also control the printing of sensitive data, like for example any data which you have defined as a sensitive data. Sometime what happens is, okay, soft copy is not possible, then let us take a hard copy of it and then take it in person and utilize it, taking it outside. So in that event, a sensitive data can be prevented getting printed on your any of your printer, maybe on premise or off premise or online. And that is how, for classified data, the printing can be prevented, right? So for example, any important information somebody want to steal by taking in a form of a hard copy, then that can be prevented. Then apart from this, the print screen also even, right? So clipboard copying can be also controlled and prevented. So even print screen can be prevented, so nobody can use the snipping tool or try to print screen and take the snaps and utilize them, right? So that is how GTB prevents your leakage of data. uh, Apart from this, yes, uh, many other features are also available. Sumit, if you can change to next slide.
Okay, so before moving on the next slide, we have another poll, which is very important poll for us. So I will request everyone to participate in this particular poll. The third poll says, does your company currently use a data loss prevention solution? Any data loss prevention solution you are using, you can choose your particular option. So it will help us to connect with you offline, or if you want to meet us one to one, you can post your message yes in the chat box. Right, I'm moving on the next slide. Yeah, please go ahead, Milind.
Yeah, thanks. So as mentioned earlier, the GTB DLP actions or remediations which are possible, which you can configure, is blocking or classify, and based on that classification, you can log the information to generate the event, so that whatever happened with your uh, classified data, you can have the detail in the form of logs with your data movement or file movement or whatever the activity happened with the classified data. You can watermark your data also, which may be a document like a PDF or docs or XLS or PPT file, right? So that the watermark is a identity that that data got originated from your organization, so that wherever that data flows and goes, that watermark will also go, and that is how you can identify that that is the unique identity of the sign that that data got originated at your organization and passed through your GTB DLP, uh, classification of your data. You can encrypt the data also to some certain extent in certain scenarios and try to protect it, like your USB pen drives or your Bluetooth connected storage devices. And shadow copy, as I told you, that is one of the option which is majorly many people they use it as another fresh copy of your original data. And of course, the file movement, file audit. So whatever the file deletion, addition, modification, whatever happens with the file or file movement, that you can track it. And of course, other tools which you can integrate with DLP apart from Active Directory is like your SIM tool or SOC tool, or maybe anything which is ICAP support. That means any device or any tool which supports ICAP protocol. Yes, those, like maybe your SMTP server, or maybe your mail server, or SIM tool or SOAR tool, whichever you have, if it is supporting ICAP protocol, including your storage devices like NAS box or Sandbox. Most of NAS boxes and Sandboxes, they support ICAP. So yes, all these can be integrated and can be monitored and tracked using GTB DLP. So next slide, Sumit.
Sure, Milind.
Yeah.
So we have another poll, poll number 4. In this poll, we say which feature matters most to you in the DLP solution. As you have seen so many features in the particular DLP solution, Do you think a specific feature which you think should be there and is there and you are looking for it? So there are four features which we have mentioned here: endpoint protection and device control, cloud security and application monitoring, advanced threat detection and fingerprinting, and compliance reporting and auditing. We have four options. So please choose your best option and let us know. We are getting good response in our poll questions. So I will request everyone to participate in this poll so that we can understand, like you are understanding the features or product which we are showcasing you in every webinar which we are doing every week. Thank you. Milind, please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. So as already discussed, the devices and operating systems which are supported by GTB DLP, all the USB drives or external drives or storage devices, yes, it can support. And even your Wi-Fi adapters, Wi-Fi connectivity can be also one of your network channel. So network DLP is one of the prime part of GTB DLP. Yes, it can support that. Firewire also it can support. It can support Windows as well as Macintosh, Apple Macintosh OS 12 and above. Although 11 it supports, but as I told you, 11 is end of life. So better for avoiding the vulnerabilities. Better to avoid the end of life operating systems, and all 32-bit as well as 64-bit it supports. Linux operating system also is native to GTB DLP, and with the open source Linux, it supports Ubuntu 16, 18, 20, 22. And apart from that, Red Hat Enterprise also 8 and 9 it is supporting, and CentOS also 7 and 8 it is supporting, and now it is called Rocky Linux. So Rocky Linux 9 also it is supporting, which is the extension or the new name of CentOS. SUSE Enterprise Linux also it supports, and of course uh, based on your environment, you can have either of all of these operating system combination. In a combination also you can utilize it, and other IO devices like POS system and all, where some sale or something which take place. Yes, that also you can have it if you opt for what is called as network DLP. So that is how the variety of uh, combinations and endpoints and IO devices GTB DLP can monitor and track and support. So Sumit, next slide. So as far as from application and cloud perspective point of view, yes, uh, I already told that application based policies also you can create on GTB DLP as one of the channel. So based on application, you can have specific policies for the specific uh, kind of sensitive data like docs file, XLS file, PPT files, or PDF files, right? So based on that particular extension, file extension, or particular format of file, or the application which uses that particular format of file, you can have policies created and drafted. So in the event if sensitive data lies in this file, and if it is going to pass through these applications, yes, the policies can track and remediate based on the application based policies. Uh, as far as cloud control and cloud storage perspective point of view, the storage devices like Dropbox or Box, Citrix Sharefile or QQ, Gtalk or Google Drive or Google for Workspace, you can say, or OneDrive, Microsoft M365 or Teams or Salesforce or SkyDrive, Slack or Snippet, you know, Evernote, and all these file shares utilities, and including the FileZilla or Free File Sync or pCloud or network application like Putty or ShareX or WinSCP, etc. That can be tracked, and that can be the part of the application policies, right? Based on this application. Now, coming back to this is the architecture of GTB DLP, and where three categories of licensing take place in the architecture of GTB DLP, where the first essential part is central console, which is your main server, and your endpoint protector, that is your agent. So the endpoint protector, as listed in it, it can do the TCP scanning, local discovery, USB device scanning, and control, application control based on the application policies, printer DLP and printer printing control, so that sensitive data, if it is going to get printing will not take place. It will print only the that data which is not sensitive. So based on that, you can have multiple policies created on the endpoint protector and get associated and sync with the central console. Policies creation will happen with the central console, so that policies can get tagged and associated to the particular endpoint or particular user. So accordingly, there the remediation will take place, and this syncing will take place based on your setting. Like every 10 minutes, every half an hour, every 1 hour, you can have the syncing done. So this is agent full operation. Now suppose sometime you want to have agentless operation, right? So in that case, a network DLP comes into picture, where there are two kind of licenses you can opt for. One is the GTB inspector, where the uh, mail transfer or mail related tracking which you want to do it, where agent is not installed and still you want to track the mail, right? So there, the GTP network inspector will come into picture, and it works in series with your firewall or your router, you can say, in your network. So whatever data is going to flow out from your network, the inspector will track that, and if it is finding some sensitive data inside it, then definitely it will remediate that, and accordingly the remediation action of blocking or maybe alerting, or whichever the remediation you ask for, it will do that job, right? So this is about the network inspector. Now there is one more network DLP which is essential part, that is a cloud inspector. So if you have any cloud storage or cloud servers or cloud entities, or any of your cloud like AWS or Azure or GCP or any third party cloud, in that case you can have tracking of such resources where your data, sensitive data, is going to move out, and GTBDLP can take care of that also. And of course, there is a connector which you need to define for that. The GTBDLP team will share that connector also during the installation, and integrate those cloud entities with your cloud inspector, so that it can monitor and communicate and track any sensitive data passing to that cloud or coming from that cloud, right? So this is a optional license. If you have that ask, you want to have it, which is agentless, using your mobile or smartphone or any unknown or BYOD device, bring your own device, which is permitted in your organization. In that event, you can ask for this, right? Then third license, as I told you, is for data at rest. So that is a discovery server. So all these three licenses, it can support your exchange online as well as offline exchange, on-premise exchange, you can say SharePoint or Amazon S3 bucket, or maybe OneDrive, or maybe Box, OneDrive for business, Dropbox also, Citrix share file or file shares, or Google Drive, or even Microsoft Azure cloud. So all these entities which are cloud based, where you have your data at rest lying, uh, this license can have ability to scan that data which is lying on these storages, and even that data has not got pulled out from that, then also it can generate the report based on this scanning and submit it to you, right? So that is the functionality of the data at rest scanning and file auditing, right? So as I already mentioned, ICAP protocol supporting devices are supported, and that is what is shown in the slide. So next slide please. So as I told you, the integration of GTB inspector or the network GTB, network DLP is possible using the Exchange or Microsoft Exchange or email gateway, any of your email gateway, or those proxy servers which support ICAP protocol. It can also get integrated with SIM tool which supports ICAP protocol. Active Directory and LDAP, yes, it is supporting. And of course, for installation of GTB DLP on premise or on cloud in virtual environment or on bare metal server, this is the configuration which is minimum you require it. This configuration will support around 100 to 150 endpoints. So that is the workload you can apply maximum using this configuration. And the GTB central console is the major server, and apart from that, the network inspector or the cloud inspector is a optional. If you have opted for that license in that event, you can go for that. Otherwise, you can get it all your job done using central console and agent full operation. That means all endpoints where agent is installed, only those will get protected, right? And of course, the operating system and endpoint perspective point of view, these are the operating systems which it will support it. Windows 10 and 11, both 32-bit as well as 64-bit. Windows 2012, 2016, 2019, 2022 servers class, right? Red Hat Linux and Enterprise 8 and 9, and SUSE Enterprise 15 and higher, CentOS Enterprise 8 and 9, and Ubuntu 16, 18, 20, 22 or 24, and Apple Macintosh 12 and above. Yes, it supports, and that is what is all about the GTB DLP.
Thank you,
It
Milind.
has, yeah, it has ability to detect in case you want to have agentless operation also. So there comes the uniqueness of GTB DLP, which is not available in any another DLP. So if you have any question, you can share it with Mr. Sumit, so that he will revert with reply to you with whatever the possible solution and answer to your requirements. Fine.
Right.
Thank
So
you.
we have a final poll coming up, which is related to the product. So we want everyone to participate in this particular poll. Yeah, Abhishek, please go on with the poll. So meanwhile, I will request anyone who wants to ask any question to Milind, they just raise their hand. I will unmute them from the list and they can ask the question to Milind. I will request everyone to participate in this particular last poll. It will help us to connect with you. Right. So if you can raise your hand, I will unmute you to go on with the questions, or you can write down the question in the chat box. If you have any question, please write down in the chat box. I will request to participate in the poll. Though we are at the brink of closure of the timeline of the webinar, if anybody is having any questions, they can just raise the hand. I will unmute and do the thing for you. So I don't think we have any question. So Jitendra is asking one question. Let me go on to Jitendra question. Yeah, so we have first question from Selva Kumar. Uh, can you please show demo how to use your product by using your app? So Selva Kumar, definitely we will connect with you. Meanwhile, Abhishek, if you can check, we have the credential of Selva Kumar so that we will contact Selva Kumar. And we have another question from Jitendra. How to define strategy for DLP implementation? Ads data is different. as data is different for different department. Okay. So Milind, if you can answer, like how to define a strategy for DLP implementation for different department, because
Yeah,
there is a different data will be having in different departments.
correct. So coming back to that, so this is, purely a data classification activity. So as I told you that, if you, first of all, what you have to define that what is the data which is sensitive and important to your department, your organization, right? For example, a fintech company will always define a PAN and Aadhaar and any PII data, personal information, data as a sensitive data. So whenever any credit card number or debit card number or bank account number or PAN ID or Aadhaar ID comes in that event, that data is sensitive as per their norms, you can say, which is PII norms, you can say. So in that event, whenever such data comes into your document or your mail body or your mail attachment or your data stream which is passing through the network or whichever means, whichever channel, maybe it is application or maybe it is, you know in a form of a file format or in a form of a network stream, you can have that data classified and tagged to your policy, and in that policy you can remediate whatever the action you want to take it. So based on that, your GTB DLP will take the action and generate the event and logs and reports also, right? So based on various departments, the other department you may have HR also. So HR norms, HR policies are different. HR classification is different, like your uh, you know uh, HR related important uh, data norms like your date of birth, your age, maybe your address, your phone number, your contact, your personal email ID. So many things are there which HR captures with themselves. So yes, if you opt for that data classification which is already predefined, readily available in the GTB library, you can tag the policy based on that data classification, and whenever such document getting shared to some unknown or unwanted resource, yes, that remediation as per that policy will take place. So this is how you can have the strategy of DLP implementation for your sensitive or important data, which you have to define it and classify it, and based on that classification and norms you can do that. If any predefined classification is not available, in that case you can define a customized classification based on your kind of data. For that you can either classify that data as a sensitive data, or otherwise you can do some fingerprinting for that data so that the SHA value will create for that. And once the SHA value is created, then wherever that data goes, that SHA value will get carried with that data. So based on that fingerprinting, GTB DLP will detect that as a sensitive data and remediate it. So that is how the strategy for defining the implementation of the important data and its remediation using GTB DLP can do its job. In fact, this is applicable to any DLP, right? I
Okay.
hope I answer it. Yeah.
Okay. Jitendra, we have created you as a member now, so you can unmute and ask if there is any other confusion or anything you want to ask.
Okay, hi, good morning to the team and all the attendees.
Good morning,
My
Jitendra.
question is very related with the DLP. We're talking since quite a long time. Nowadays, do you see any role specific, employment in the organization nowadays? Because data is something which is very sensitive in terms. Even the comments can be a data. That's what I'm trying to mention here. Uh, and that can leak a lot of information out. So do you see any role specific, like somebody who owns the data restriction or data policy or something in the organization nowadays?
Yeah, see, actually speaking now, as far as role perspective point of view, you know, majority of the enterprise companies or even, medium or small scale organization also, MSME also, they are finding out that, the ransomware attacks and, cyber threats and cyber attacks, they are happening everywhere. It is not only the enterprise are now target everywhere, wherever, wherever there is a chance, there is a, weakness and vulnerabilities are found. Yes, there are chances that data leak may happen.
Because
Any kind
Milind,
of
people look at holding data. They even
yes, yes,
sometimes fear sharing the data.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Understood. So coming back to that, obviously the requirement for such roles and, responsibility to mitigate such kind of attacks has to be there. And based on that, that's why now SOC team has come into picture. You can have SOC solutions and SOC team. You can have a red team as well as blue team, which, analyze the kind of attacks, the events. Now it's a dedicated function, you can say. Rather, for example, any fintech company like banking and public sector, or any enterprise sector where, huge transactions and, lot of, transactions, financial transactions and, other transactions take place. Obviously their data is important to them, and in order to have safeguard that data, they need a huge support and, such kind of team who can analyze the events, who can remediate it, who can immediately take the action and retrieve the data and safeguard the data. So for that, of course, various roles, there may be a L1, L2, L3 category in SOC team. You can have it for as a data analyzer as well as data, preventing and data safeguarding solution point of view. And of course, DLP is one of the pillar of that. So whatever the flavor the organization chooses, based on that, you can have role specific, task assigned to that particular job or that particular activity, you can say.
I hope Jitender ji, Milind's answer
सुमित जी एक
has.
थोड़ा सा
Yeah.
twist है यहाँ पे. The question which is asked is about, do you see any roles in future in this category for IT fraternity where there can be specific role like uh, data director or data operator or data
It's already
owners or something like that? That's what my
it's already it's already already present, sir. It's already, you might have seen that,
अच्छा.
the data analytics and data analyzers, or, data scientist, right? So these are already some roles which are already created. So similar like that, now for SOC team also,
But
SOC
are they
L1.
responsible for data? Because analytics and all that is meant for, finding out the existing data and using as a dashboard or something, taking decisions and all that, not
Correct.
the owner of the data.
No, the owner of data, but obvious it will be, the organization management, because the data is owned by the organization. So irrespective of whichever department the data belongs to, finally the ownership of all data goes to, the CEO and the managing director and, the organization management. So, but obvious, that is their way and their way of thinking. So if at all they want to have a specific dedicated role to be sanctioned and given for the operational task point of view, they may have it, and accordingly such kind of roles can be created. It is case to case
Okay,
basis. Yeah.
okay, Milind. Sounds good. Thanks, dear.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Jitender ji. And Jitender is one of the person who joining our webinar every week. Thank you, Jitender ji, for trusting us on the
Welcome.
content.
It's normally I look at an informative way of connecting. I appreciate your people's effort for that.
Thank you, Jitender ji. So we have Mr. Selva Kumar also. Selva Kumar, if you can unmute and ask your question like you want to understand about the product. Okay, maybe he is busy. Okay. So we have another question from Manoj Upadhyay, and he wants to ask a question like, what about the classified document to be shared with the authority or client? Like if you have classified a document and if you share with the client, so what
Mhm.
will be the like architecture or how the document can be used or misused by the client? I think that's a question. Manoj, if there is any change in the question, please raise your hand so I can unmute you. Please go ahead, Milind, if you can answer.
Yeah, yeah. So see, as far as sharing the classified data to some specific entity, that can be remediated and that can be whitelisted. So you can allow as a exclusion, you can add as an exclusion and do that job. So that is permissible in DLP. Now, as far as from non-disclosure agreement or the process point of view, if this question is, then that is purely the management's call. They have to have a clarity from both sides, both managements. The person who is sharing that data sensitive from their side also, and the person who is accepting that, and along with that he is accepting that NDA, that also. So from both side they have to understand this non-disclosure agreement, and based on that what you can say, atmos good faith, you can say, they have to carry out that business. That is how the things can move.
Hi, good morning, and thanks for the response. My query is like basically we have to submit some of the tenders on other documents, but we have to get care with the device which we have encrypted. Now we have to share the data into either on the floppy or basically the pen drive. Most of the
Hmm.
time pen drive. Now when
Okay.
you are sharing that pen drive, with the as per the rule book you shared before that it will be encrypted. Now the data is
Hmm.
encrypted in the pen drive, and now we have
Hmm.
to give the pen drive to the customer or authority. And
Hmm.
both the guys do not have that STT, the
Hmm.
DLP. So how can they will view that database?
So in that case, you don't encrypt the data. You give it without encryption
Is it
to
possible?
that particular. Yeah, yeah, that is possible, because
Okay.
see, encryption is another level of security which is preventing the
Correct.
unauthorized
Correct.
unauthorized way the data movement. But here you are willing to give that data, right? So
Yeah,
that
yeah.
means you have whitelisted that particular entity and sharing that data, and you have faith on that particular person or that particular organization where you are sharing this. So without encryption also you can share that, based on that faith that he will not misuse that data, and not will he will not share it to anybody else, and or
Mm.
otherwise you can have NDA signed with them as a legal document, so that in the event if by chance it is found that they have misused your this data, then you can take legal action on them. That is also possible.
And another link question is that can we restrict that this data with whom we have shared, he cannot or the person cannot transfer to anyone else? Is it possible?
uh, Actually speaking, what you can do is you can
Can we
you can
track the
have
data basically?
uh, no, that
Data
way you
movement
cannot.
tracking.
Data movement tracking from that third party who is totally out of your organization, it is difficult, because there your DLP solution is not installed, right?
Okay. Mm.
Nor you have access to their network where
Correct.
you can. So that is practically not possible. But
Okay.
you can have some fingerprinting kind of thing done, where
Mhm.
or you can have some watermarking done, so that wherever that data is going, it will carry that watermark, so that you can identify in case in the event if you came across with some another channel where you found this data, then
Mhm.
you can have that watermark which is there lying on that data, which cannot be
Okay.
destructed.
Mhm.
And by that you can understand that, yeah, that origin of that data is your organization. So that way you
Okay.
can track it.
And I
That is
have another
possible.
one more. Okay. I have another question basically. Now most of the people are transferring data from the using the Gmail and Yahoo Mail. So
Correct.
can we track that also?
Yeah, yeah, you can track that also. You can
Is it
define that. Yeah, you can define that as uh, the domain sensitive
Okay,
data for that sensitive data. So
okay.
whenever any mail transfer happens to Gmail or
Yeah.
your Yahoo Mail or web mail, you
Mm,
can say,
well then,
you can track that and remediate. You can block it. No problem.
okay. So
So
that
simple.
basically it can that the guy cannot transfer the or cannot be do the attachment or cannot be emailed to anyone
Yes, yes. Yeah, yeah,
by
yeah.
using this.
See,
It will be
even
stopped at remote.
yes, yes, it can do. It can do. In
Okay.
fact, GTB DLP has OCR functionality also, optical
Yeah, that
character
I have seen.
recognition.
Yeah,
So
that
in
I have.
optical character recognition, what happens is even somebody writes by his handwritten, that sensitive information. Like suppose your PAN card ID,
Mm,
your
mm,
PAN identity. You have classified your PAN ID or any PAN ID as a classified identity as per the PII norms, right? Now,
correct.
if this policy is also created and tagged it to it, in the event if somebody writes some PAN identity by handwritten way and take the snap of it as a photograph
Mm,
and try to send
mm,
that photograph over the mail, or
okay.
in the mail body itself even somebody paste it, or
Yes,
even in a text form somebody writes that PAN identity, then also that will be scanned and tracked and blocked, or whatever the remediation you ask for.
okay. 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 Thanks. Many thanks, Sumit and
Welcome.
Milan. Thanks. Right. Bye.
Thank you, Manojji, for joining in
Thanks. Yeah,
and
thanks.
asking
Bye.
question.
Thank you.
Anybody
Yeah.
else who wants to ask any question related to DLP? Or if you want to have a one-to-one discussion with us, you just mention in chat box one-to-one, and my team or me will be coming back with the schedule and have a one-to-one discussion on this. Please mention in the chat box one-to-one, and we will come back with the schedule. So thank you, Millings, for your time.
Yeah,
And I really
thanks.
appreciate your detailed presentation about the GTB DLP product. And as I found this particular product beautifully working for various customers, so definitely I invited a few of our attendees to this particular call to get the insight about the GTB product. I hope everyone got the good insight about the GTB product. If you want to connect with us, you can write down one-to-one in the chat box and we will be connecting you shortly.
Thanks, Sumit. Thanks everyone.
Thank you,
Thanks for
Milind.
your